I mix what I like, what I like, what I like, what I like, what I like. Hey, real quick, did you see the new Rick James?
I got it on my list. I haven't watched it
Okay.
yet though. It's on my watch. Yeah, I heard everybody talking about it, and I can't wait to check it out.
Yeah, I just saw it, and so I'm just going to say three things since you haven't seen it. These are not spoilers. I just want to make three quick observations, or just three quick reference points from that I thought were interesting. O.J. Simpson, Charles Manson,
Buffalo.
and the Maasai people. I'm just gonna leave it there for now. I just was like,
Well,
wow, that's very interesting.
A fun fact. We talked about David Goggins before. I think we talked about David Goggins before.
I think so. Yep.
I haven't seen it, and they probably didn't mention it here because I mean, why would they? It's not really pertinent to the story. But David Goggins said that his father used to own a club in Buffalo, and that Rick James was like one of his closest friends. Like they were real tight.
Wow.
So and his father was wild too. So it makes sense that birds.
You would have to be.
Yeah.
You could not have been a close friend.
His father was abusive.
Yeah.
So I mean, not just wild, but abusive. So he was like a not a good dude. Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, there it is.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, check it out, and maybe we can rap about it next week. It's very interesting, and very interesting. So listen, so obviously this buying power thing is just, I keep getting, I have the Google alert set, so I get all of these updates. And I just want to quickly say that, remind everybody that again, buying power is not is not a measurement of anyone's actual economic condition or strength. It is not a measurement of income. It is not a measurement of wealth. It is a measurement of put together of what is purported to be the ability of any community to spend what it has on other people's goods. It is a concept derived from the marketing and advertising community, at least at this point. There's broader history that we will not get into right now, but it is meant to help advertisers learn how to target their ad revenue. It is to help commercial media outlets attract ad revenue from the biggest corporate ad buyers in the country and the world. Every segment of society, and forgive any of the noises in the background, but all segments of society have their buying power measured, from the largest, the federal government, down to every segment of society that, going through our last conversation, Black trans consumers ages 17 to 25 have their buying power assessed. Municipalities have their buying power assessed. Everybody. But only when it comes to Black people is this mythology, or is this concept turned into some argument about Black economic strength and potential for liberation. Well, as I've mentioned over the years, I just haven't turned it into a particular focus or gone too far. But this is starting to become the case with the new minority so-called community, described here as Spanish language Hispanics. This is the new majority. The Hispanic Heritage, and this being Hispanic Heritage Month, highlights the year-round revenue hurdles for Spanish language publishers. And this is sort of, and again, this is even the headline kind of speaks to my point. It is an issue about revenue hurdles for publishers. It is not about an assessment of the so-called community. Hispanic community. Yes, thank you, exactly. So as they say here, Hispanic Heritage Month seeks to put a spotlight on a large and growing segment of the United States population, but it also highlights the lack of year-round support Spanish language publishers receive from advertisers. So again, this is their focus. The next paragraph, both publishers and ad agencies are still having to make a case for the value of reaching this audience. So again, what this publication is doing is just like so many of the Black outlets do, is to say, we have this buying power, and it's the advertising community that's not properly respecting our outlets. They're not enriching our outlets. So what they're talking about here are the different levels of support that so again, so-called Hispanic owned or targeting media receive from advertisers. So they're talking about a lack of representation in media companies that receive money from ad buyers, or representation
Mm-hmm.
in terms of diversity in terms of newspaper or media staffing. They're not talking about okay. At the same time, Hispanic buying power has grown substantially over the last 30 years, from 213 billion in 1990 to 1.9 trillion in 2020, and accounted for 11% of US buying power in 2020, according to the latest annual multicultural economy report from University of Georgia's Selig Center for Economic Growth. The exact
The
same
old Selig
Jeffrey
Center.
Humphreys, the Selig Center report, that in its own documentation says these are not real figures, these are estimates and projections in terms of a buying power that they cannot really assess, and is based on overall incomes of the population and has nothing to do with it's really that's really all they do. They take what they think is the overall earned income of the entire community and then say, if you have all of that, you can spend it on us. But of course, they're not counting for debt, bills, living expenses, whatever it is. And then they suggest that this money is left over and there's this 1.9 trillion that Hispanics could spend differently to enrich themselves. But that is what is the misrepresented story, or narrative that gets distributed or disseminated, particularly when it comes to Black folks. But here they're saying this is about how much they think can be spent supporting the economy, which is supporting the owners of the economy, which is supporting largely white corporations that own almost everything. And by the way, as it says here, even this is only 11% of all of the country's buying power. So even if there is supposed to be some relative strength here, it is only 11% relative to white or any other communities. So that was really it. That's really the whole point of this article. It's just but I just wanted to highlight again very quickly that they're using the same basic report to continue to make this same claim. And there is actually one other piece of this I wanted to share real quick, because they reference this story here called "The Power of Us," a conversation about how Hispanic and Latinx culture has shaped America. Of course, I'm not even gonna. At almost 61 million strong, Hispanic and Latinx people are a huge part of America's DNA. That's power in numbers. Their influence can be felt everywhere, from the food we eat and the clothes we wear to the music we listen to and how we live, speak, and celebrate. That's power that transforms. And if you were to add up the economic might of Hispanic and Latinx individuals in this country, the community would be the world's 8th largest economy. Now that's poder. And then they throw in the little Spanish word for power to make it a little more, but and again, they're doing the same thing.
Look at you with the pronunciation. Let's check you out. I saw you trying to
Hey, my
humble
Spanish is
bragging with
not good. But my Spanish is not good, but my wife does say my accent is strong. Like I can come with it with what little I'm too far behind. But anyway, but the point though is that they do the same thing here that has been done to Black communities for a much longer period of time, in terms of making this argument that Black people have the 8th largest economy, the 10th largest economy in the world. And I've gone a lot to explain how this is not GDP, and that GDP itself is not a measurement of inequality within an economy. And there's just so many flaws with this. But as they're saying, what is accurate about that piece I just read from is that what they're saying, as it relates to the U.S. economy, the only power so-called Hispanic people or Black people have in this country is the ability to have our labor and cultural expression and ability to spend on trinkets to serve the owners of the economy, and to serve our role in boosting the overall GDP of the United States, which is again over $20 trillion, and which is owned by and controlled by 1 to 1/10 to 1% of the population, for the most part. So anyway, so I just wanted to, it's again, happy Heritage Month to whomever has their month at whatever calendar point we're hitting. But all it's being done, all it's being used to do is to try to get some more ad revenue into some so-called Hispanic owned or targeted media outlets. It's not meant to accurately describe the condition of the people. So
yeah,
that was it. Yeah,
they give you a false sense of power too, because they build you up. They blow your head up. You're this and that. You got this much money. You this and that, so on and so forth. You got all this power. So go ahead and spend it. And then, I saw something a while ago about the Civic Center, and they were talking about Georgia, which is where they are, which is what you just mentioned. And they were saying how each graduate of Georgia University brings like $2 million to the economy or something like that. That the Civic Center, there's some study that the Civic Center had done, because I was looking them up once. I think after we first started talking about them here on this platform. I know you've been talking about them for years, but I just looked them up just to kind of go a little bit more into them. And I think they even have like shopping centers and all kinds of stuff. So they've really expanded. I wonder who this Selick guy is. We got to look into him and see who he is.
You know what? That's a good question. I don't. You know what? I don't remember if
I don't know if he's still alive.
Yeah, that's a good point. You know what? That's a good point. That's make a note of that and get to it. Get back to it at least. But yeah, anyway, so yeah, right on, man. Let's do a quick spin here real fast and then come back and cover run through at least bring up a couple of these other stories, and we'll get set for our guests and take a trip with our guests.
I mix what I like, what I like, what I like, what I like, what I like.